from England. We've never met before in real life, but we've somehow managed to end up doing a talk together here in Hemel Hempstead.
And this is my first time to have a talk in English in front of. Well, I can do without the paper, but yes, as I said, this is my first time to have a talk in English and first time to be outside an airport in England. So this is quite odd and interesting. Yeah. Well, I can continue.
Sorry. Well, with ClickTeam's products ever growing in popularity, some people find themselves reaching the boundaries that Click development has. Well, the first thing that such a person might do is try searching for an extension to do what they want to do. But if they can't find one, they might request developers to make it for them. But the number of active extension developers who will make these extensions is falling, and that could mean people are waiting a long time if their extension actually gets made at all.
So we had a poll on the forum that showed that 26 people know a programming language outside of math, but may already be the lowest, and 18 people will be interested in learning to develop extensions, and 18 will be attracted more if it's easier and have simple tutorials to learn from. But 11 were scared away from extension development because of the C++ coding element. And I have a nice graph you can look at. Yeah. Let's see.
So these results show that the amount of people who actually know that programming languages is far higher than the amount of people who are currently doing extension development. Now, even if none of the people who said they were, voted and said they knew a programming language didn't know C++, programming skills can be applied to any language. In extension development, it's more planning and thinking than writing code. The results also show that 18 people would be interested in learning to develop extensions, and possibly the same 18 would be more likely to pick up extension development if it has some simple tutorials and resources. Now, if you imagine that these resources were available and so were simple tutorials, then you would have 18 new developers. As a matter of fact, the resources and the simple tutorials could be available very soon.
Yeah, and we could also just get a little more interactivity with our audience. You can ask how many here have developed an extension. Just to see. There are 1, 2, and 2. Well, not too many. And how many have tried to make an extension? There are a few more. Well, what scared you away from making extensions? Just were tried and didn't continue with it. No one? Don't want to share? Okay. Well, let's continue. Well, me and Jan, we have been working on revamping the extension kit we can download. And well, it has, thanks to the library of documents in the making, which I forgot to bring, of course, so we can't show that. Well, it's much faster and simpler development process when you do work with it. Yeah, let's see. Next slide. Yeah, here are some of the improvements. First, the extension skeleton, ready for your code in just 4 minutes. I lost myself here. Please don't mind this first being in English. Well, there's no more keeping track of action, condition, expression in many different places. They've all been sorted out to 2 places now. Only in the main file, where you have the action, conditions, and all that, and the menu. Before it was in, we had the runtime structure and all that.
The runtime structure is all automated now, yeah. So if you were to use, so are flags. So if you use, flags are things you can implement in your extension to enable things like alterable values for your object. Beforehand you used to have to constantly refer to the documentation to see which structures you need to include in your runtime structure if you wanted to use certain flags. But the new development kit automates that process, and it automatically includes the structures which you need based on the flags which you're using.
Yeah. And jump tables is gone for actions and conditions. So no need to keep track of that. And it's much easier to learn, even without any documentation, hopefully. And many features are retaught so that you spend less time implementing your extension and more time making it do what you want.
So I'm going to demonstrate actually developing an extension with the new development kit. But I'm not used to using a laptop mouse or keyboard or anything, especially not a Norwegian one, so we'll see what I can do. So we have here the rSDK folder, which is what we've called our development kit. So we've got it comes just like any other extension development kit. It's got the folder where your different extensions will live. It's got the include folder and the library folder for the things that C++ includes and links to. So to start off, you just copy the template, which is just a basic extension, and rename it to what you might want to call your extension. So if we go into here, we have the icon. The image is displayed in the event editor, and the icon is displayed in the frame editor, but it might be the other way around. I've forgotten. So we have the project file, which will open in Visual C++. Now, the different files in the development kit, we have the different C++ files, which is where your code will go that make your object do what you want it to. The different header files, like common, which isn't really used in this template, but that's where you'd put any files that you wanted to include, like if you used a separate library. Data, which holds the runtime structure and the edit time structure for any data that your object might store while it is while it's in use. And the flags prefs, that's the different flags, you uncomment them to use them, and that's all the different flags your object could use, and the preferences. So like, say if you wanted to implement alterable values in your extension, you just have to find the alterable value and then uncomment it, and then you'd have rSDK would automatically include the right structures and set all that up, but we're not going to for this extension. So you'd start off in information. That's where the name of your object, which will be displayed in the object list. It will be displayed like when you hover over your objects, and just in different places in Multimedia Fusion. You have the author, which you have the copyright information, and then you have the comment, which is displayed in the insert an object dialog, so people know what your extension actually does. The web page, which is generally your address if you've got a website, and the help file, but we're not going to make one because that should be beyond the scope of this talk. This can be changed so that it could either run in the Games Factory, Multimedia Fusion Standard, or the Developer Edition. So that's how you make extensions which will only work in one version. And that's the lowest build which it will work on. We'll leave that for now. But like, you should generally set that to the highest build that exists when you build your extension, because then people can't use it on older builds which might have bugs or whatever. These are for when people are making beta extensions, and they might want to have like a message when you use it in places and stuff like that, just so that people know, and that's all fine. So once that's all ready, we have the main file. here we have the conditions, the actions, and the expressions. They're not actually as complicated as they seem, but you know, a few comments and stuff, and they look a lot more interesting. The condition has the ID, which it has to be the same as in the menu, so the menu knows which condition to use. This is there's a different code, really.
That's what is displayed in the event editor. Now, when you add a condition, you can see first is the object, is a node. Then there's first value and the second value, which we have in the params. This is expressions, where you enter numbers and stuff like that.
So we have that's the name, that would represent the name of the object, that would represent the first parameter, that would represent the second parameter, and so on. So we'll leave all that.
Sorry. You still have to define a menu, the bottom menu?
The menu, we have separated so that people can use it even though they don't have a resource editor, because there are free versions of Visual C++ which don't work and don't work with resources. So that as long as you have the ID the same as it is in your actual condition, action, or expression, it should work fine. And then you just give it a name. You can have separators, you can have submenus like that. You can have and then items within the submenus. So if you've got any questions, just ask them.
So you made macros actually to define the menus?
Yeah, most of these are macros. Like Billy did the menu system.
It's macros is tied up to a class I made with great menu.
So if we go to the definition of the macros,
with the bullets,
yeah,
the link on, and then use the functions in edit time.
So we have these.
Where you open the menu.
That's not what's the definition of it.
Is it possible to use the editor of menu of Visual C?
Not at the moment, but we were going to add the functionality so you could actually decide whether you wanted to use resources or.
It shouldn't be hard to implant it back, so you can switch between them.
We were going to do that, but not in this edition which we've created. So the parameters are quite a bit simpler than they are in the old SDK, because in the old SDK you had to manage having it in an array of stuff and all that. I'm going to talk too much. So we'd have the number of the parameters at the start, we'll just have the one. No, we'll just have none. And
you need to change the name to an X.
We'll make the condition and obviously I am, and I can't be bothered to write a very complicated routine which hooks up to my webcam at home and checks if I'm sitting in front of the computer, so we'll just return true for now. The actions, we don't really need any. No. And the expressions, we will have one. We'll just keep the default one, which adds up two things anyway. So then we need the menu. This can be as simple or as complicated as you want to make it. But we'll build that. We're going to build a release build, which will, which is for viewing in Multimedia Fusion. So if we minimise all this and we go back to Multimedia Fusion.
The build is set up to copy the file, so you don't need to copy it. Yeah, then we can show it. This is the new build also.
This is the hardware accelerated build.
So hope it works.
Yeah. We haven't actually tried it yet.
So
there's the object we just made. If we put it in now, if we check the event editor, There should be the condition is jammed at the convention. Yeah. Which should evaluate to true, and we have no actions. So if we were to insert a string object, and then if jam is at the convention, we will change the string to the sum of 4.
Then you make it into a string.
Yeah. 75.993. Even though it doesn't take a float, so that'll have absolutely no effects whatsoever on what the object actually does. And if we run that, 79. So that's obviously the extension working, and it didn't take very long.
How does it come when it create run object, display run object? Are these routine the same, or did you do some changes there?
We've done a few changes, but not very many. Create run objects, it does include some things so that we can do all the beta pop-ups and stuff if you uncomment the things. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. The properties and stuff, Willy has.
They are still in the workings, so right now they're just a bit cover up.
Yeah, they work pretty much the same as they do, just a bit more. So behind it, we've written
and lots of code too. We've
got all the functions. There's a new runtime header object which has some functions for doing stuff like getting expression parameters, calling functions, and then it's got all of the R functions are now represented in as a proper functions. So that makes it a bit simpler.
They also replace the tigs whole.
We've got the tigs HPP file is now replaced all the functions in it. We've got all the functions for manipulating objects, like other objects. This is my magic flag system, which basically checks which flags have been uncommented, and if they have been uncommented, it uses those flags. And then working with that is also the magic R data system, which
Which
one is that?
You need an outcome, even if you only have a sprite or animation and no movement.
Right, so we do have an outcome here.
Yeah, but it's only if there is a movement, but it also has to be valid when you've got the sprite and
but
animation.
we have.
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Right, so that's the new SDK, which hopefully should accelerate extension development quite a bit, because it's obviously a lot simpler for people to get extensions working and a lot rapider for development. So we're going to release this demonstrational edition on the forums shortly after the convention. So that's all we've got to say, really.
Yeah.